There's one reason and one reason alone why articles about habits of highly successful people are massively flawed. And in this video, I'm going to step you through what that is. Hey guys, it's best-selling author Ben Angel here of the upcoming book The Identity Gap, a 90-day mission to become unstoppable, which is all about a 90-day journey I went on speaking to the top neuroscientists, biohackers, doctors, and other specialists about how we can become unstoppable in our daily lives. And one thing that I found supremely interesting is online we're exposed to a plethora of articles around habits of highly successful individuals. All of these articles purely focus on is the psychological aspects of their habits, not necessarily the biochemical basis of why they're actually exhibiting or making those changes in their lives. It makes the assumption that biochemically we're all on the same level as the likes of people like Tony Robbins, the Dalai Lama, even Richard Branson. So if you were to apply these habits in your daily life, you would get the similar kind of outcomes. But there's flaws in this thinking. If you were to take an individual, a peak performer, who has been studied whilst they're being a peak performer, and looked at their biochemistry, you would most likely find that they're sufficient in vitamin D, B, their serotonin, dopamine, even GABA levels are all within the normal range. Now the reality is that we're all biochemically unique. How one person deals with stress compared to another person is completely different, and that could be based on what their set point is. Now that set point isn't just dictated by their psychology and their willpower, it's also dictated by their biochemistry. If you were to take a peak performer and deplete them severely of vitamin D or even serotonin and dopamine, they would potentially end up curled up on the couch in a tiny little ball, unable to cope and also unable to think. That individual would most likely become depressed, experience anxiety and high levels of stress. Now, if you're trying to apply those same habits without being at a biochemical level to become a peak performer, you're always going to return to what is known as your personal and individual set point. When we go to attain a particular goal, we're ultimately trying to become more than who we are. The problem, if you don't have the energetic resources to ensure that that change is not only happening but also sustained for the long term, you're going to default back to your set point. So we need to focus on the energy levels that help the psychological change become easy. There are various factors that can deplete our energy levels that we don't typically consider, including the makeup of our microbiome in our stomach. There's a revolutionary new practice and new research being done around psychobiotics. What is psychobiotics? Well, it's the study of probiotics and how it can help individuals with mental illnesses recover and exceed their current mental capability. And in one particular example, they managed to help an individual suffering with Tourette's by providing them with a diverse range of probiotics to help that individual recover. Not only do probiotics help impact the way that we think and also our moods, it can also reduce the amount of time and severity of a cold, which comes in incredibly handy, especially if you're an entrepreneur watching this video. One of the other factors that rarely gets considered is food sensitivities. What we've found with food sensitivities is that it can trigger inflammation within your body. Now, if inflammation occurs within your brain, that's going to impede your cognitive ability and your decision-making ability. So if you're trying to conduct a habit of a peak performer without having the mood and the energy to support it, you're always going to go back to that default setting. And one thing that you can do is you can check out various online tests that you can send off for a blood test They'll actually post it out to your home, you take the blood test, you send it off, and you get your results back within a couple of weeks. So if you had been struggling with brain fog, fatigue, generally not feeling great about yourself, then looking at food sensitivities is one of the key aspects that not many of us consider whatsoever. We have found, looking at various research papers, is that food, including dairy and caffeine, can trigger psychotic breakdowns in certain individuals with high sensitivities to that. When we look at becoming our best, we can't just will ourselves into becoming the best person. Our biochemistry has to catch up with who that person is becoming. For more tips and to participate in the Identity Gap survey, in which we've surveyed over 2,000 people internationally to find out what they're struggling with, head over to theidentitygap.co. It will take you less than 60 seconds and help shape the book, which will be released through Entrepreneur Magazine and Press in October of this year. So that's theidentitygap.co. Jump over there now, take care, and I'll see you next week.